Red Blood, Those Who Walk Behind. Written and directed by Quade Krulik. Production by Trey Falco. Starring Quade Krulik and Trey Falco.
Life is great. There isn't a thing that can touch me. My name is Jonathan, and I have been living the life I have always meant to live. Money is coming in, and the good times are never ending. Where am I? On some Chinese freighter about to steal. Steal what? A container worth of guns that we'll sell at a discount to their normal, original buyers. That will lower their cost, and it's pure profit for us. I don't move drugs on the streets anymore. Ever since I moved to Ukraine, I've been at the behest of my very generous employer, Seraph Alexei. He has been nothing but kind with his rewards of money, women, and status. I have never been into drugs. I find my actions serve to satisfy me more than any chemical consumption ever could. I still pull hits for Alexei when he needs something taken care of. But when the opportunity arises, I have a friend who calls me up for work that gets me a little side action, which can be quite lucrative. The guns he has been tracking for over a year, Chinese made, and on their way to some pirates in Africa. According to Lenny, the guy who put this whole score together, they are meant to be used by some dictator to prove who the best warlord in the region is. Although, if you go to Africa, you can't toss a rock without hitting a warlord. Who can complain? Lenny hired two other guys aside from me. Ivan, another one of Alexei's crew, and Michael, another American, like me. Ivan and I don't interact that much outside of these side jobs Lenny has us do. Michael, I have met 2 other times for 2 separate jobs. He looks like a hipster straight out of a Starbucks coffee shop or public poetry reading seminar, but he is the best lockpicker in the business. I've seen him crack a 6-pin lock on a century-old safe with millions inside and break open locked doors faster than Ivan can take down a shot of vodka. We rode up to the freighter on a small dinghy. We only revved the engine to full speed when the freighter was blowing that godforsaken horn. When the dinghy finally got alongside the ship, we hooked up to it with ropes attached to magnets. We crawled our way up via gravel hooks. I was the first on board, being the best shot. This was going to be the easiest job that we had ever pulled. We had the routes of every single guard that was on this boat. All we needed was to find the right storage container. Michael led us as me and Ivan swept each corner for someone who wasn't supposed to be there with our rifles. Ivan stayed ahead of me while I followed up, making sure nothing came up behind us. The next thing I knew, Michael stopping us dead in our tracks.
Hey, guys, this is it.
He went to work, and it wasn't long till the electronic lock on the container was buzzing positively. I swear, I used to think that was such a cliche for locks to buzz when they are unlocked, but that's really what they do. I swept from sightline to the next while Ivan helped Michael open the freighter, and turned abruptly when I heard Ivan sound disappointed.
What the hell is this?
I turned to see what he was complaining about, and it was pretty obvious to see what was going on. There was a single wooden box in the middle of the container. The 3 of us slowly approached it.
Guys, this isn't part of the plan. We're supposed to have 16 airtight crates of AK-47s to dump over the side of the ship.
Lenny, come in. We have a situation.
What is it?
The container just has 1 single crate in the center of it.
That doesn't make any sense. I'm looking at the ship manifest, and it clearly says that there should be 16 crates of guns in there. Boy, make sure you have the right container.
I rolled my eyes, but walked outside and checked the tag of the container. Yeah, X-Ray Zulu-156879.
That's correct. Hold on. Have you looked inside the crate yet?
Michael, can you get into the crate? Michael didn't even flinch, which surprised me. Usually he would scoff and shoot me some pretentious hipster attitude if I asked him something that obvious. But he was just as curious as the rest of us to be an asshole right now. He leaned down above the crate and started clicking away at the key lock and thumbprint lock that kept the crate sealed. In typical fashion, it did not take long for Michael to open the box, and when he did, his lips parted, his lumberjack beard, and his eyes began to glow. Yvonne walked around to check himself. I looked down our corners to make sure we were still safe, as we were slightly behind schedule. When I was sure we were safe, I went to stand above the crate to see what everyone else was looking at.
Lenny, we have some beautiful conflict ice.
Uncut, freshly mined conflict diamonds. They were beautiful.
How many are in the crate?
We count 53 boxes. Each one says 10 carats. How much are we looking at?
Oh, God, gentlemen, we're looking at $5 million!
We all looked at each other and hugged and patted each other on the back. We jumped and did a quick victory fist to the air. It was the best score that we had ever come across. And it was coming in a container smaller than we were actually hoping for. Okay, fellas, new plan. Michael, you and Yvonne carry the crate to our exit. We'll just drive the damn score out of here. This will keep us from having to salvage the crates from the bottom of the ocean later. Lenny, you got someone who can move ice?
Are you kidding me? I could have the money in your account in 5 days. Who am I kidding? I know a Russian oligarch. 4 days.
We were meticulous. Our plan wasn't to be carrying the crate back to our fresh little dinghy. Michael and Yvonne were having a little trouble carrying it, but I'm sure it was pretty heavy. We moved as fast as we could to get to where we were going. My enthusiasm stopped when I ran into Michael's back after they stopped dead in their tracks. I looked around them, and there in front of us stood some suit at the end of the catwalk. That's odd. What the hell was a suit doing on a Chinese freighter? Especially considering he was as white as an Eskimo. I didn't bother to question it. I looked down my sights as he began to draw a pistol from under his suit jacket. Twice I hit him right in the chest, no further than a few centimeters apart from each other. "Move!" I shouted. Yvonne and Michael didn't wait for me to say it again. They scurried and moved to get out of the way. They passed over the man who stood in our way. I paused and aimed my rifle and shot him one last time in the head, just to be sure, which was smart as I was positive I could still see him breathing. I caught up with the guys as they were lowering down the crate onto the dinghy with some utility rope we had brought. They were clearly struggling, but they were making good progress. Yvonne came and tapped me on the shoulder to indicate we were good to go. I stepped backwards with my eyes following my rifle's sights to make sure we wouldn't be interrupted during our escape. I looked for as long as we could. First one on board, last one to leave. Once we were all on the boat, we hightailed it out of there. Two months later. Life is great. I found myself a nice new car and a brand new house. With all the amenities to come with it. Plants, home furnishing, and women scattered all over. I couldn't believe the job we pulled. I was in the middle of my favorite suit shop getting a fitting for a brand new suit that I was having made for myself. While there, my phone started to ring, but I was right in the middle of my fitting, so I let it go to voicemail, and I would check to see what it was later. I started to walk out of the shop and remembered the call. I took it out and noticed the missed call was from Yvonne, which was odd, because we always wait a minimum of 3 months before we contact someone from a job we just pulled. We don't work in close proximity to each other, and he has always followed Lenny's rule before, so it must have been important.
Jonathan, call me back. Someone has been following me for the past month. Faces I don't recognize. I can't seem to shake them. I found them last when I went to my bank the other day. Call me back, because I'm not sure if I should concern Mr. Alexei about this. For God's sakes, call me back.
I had never heard Ivan sound so scared before. I tried to ring him again, but the phone didn't even ring twice before his voicemail picked up. I tried again, but it happened again as well. So I decided to leave a voicemail.
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
Hey Ivan, that's definitely something Mr. Alexei should know about. What if it's the cops? I hung up after that brief message, but I still couldn't understand why he was contacting me about this. It wasn't like I had some great insight to what he was doing. We weren't really close. The only time we spoke was when Lenny had us on a job. I decided to put it out of my mind and head over to my meeting with Alexei.
Jonathan, how are you? Are you still enjoying City?
Yes, sir. Things couldn't be better.
Good, good. Listen, I understand you and Yvonne have been doing a little side work. It is not problem. I don't mind my boys earning extra on the side. Do not look at me so concerned, Jonathan. I've known about it for quite some time.
Well, what about it, Mr. Alexei? You wouldn't be mentioning it if it wasn't some kind of issue.
It is Yvonne. He was supposed to meet yesterday on making sure our product made to America. But he never showed. I know you don't usually deal with him outside of your side work, but I've tried to reach out every way I could. I am sending you to check his home.
Of course, sir. I did not feel like telling Alexei about the voicemail Yvonne left me. It would probably create a bigger issue than necessary, and I don't want him sending 6 or 7 guys when Yvonne could have just missed their meeting from getting wasted. I headed over to the address Alexei gave me to find Yvonne. I punched in the elevator thinking to myself how stupid Yvonne was for missing his meeting with Alexei. But when the elevator opened and I walked down to Yvonne's place and saw the door's locks broken, I started to think maybe Yvonne wasn't to blame. I pulled my pistol from my side and kicked the door in and scanned the entrance. So far, nothing. Not a peep. I slowly walked in cautiously, making sure nothing was in each room. I double-checked each room. They all seemed fine except for the living room. There had clearly been a struggle, but I couldn't see blood, and there wasn't any sign of a big fight, like bullet holes or broken furniture just tipped over. I thought that might have meant nothing, but this was all a little too odd. So I called Lenny to see what his opinion on the matter was.
Now look, I told you not to contact me this early. You know the rules.
I know, just listen. I went over to Yvonne's place and he's gone. There is clear signs of a struggle, but I can't really tell if he is dead or not. Look, try and get in touch with Michael. If he's fine, then there shouldn't be anything to worry about. Lenny hung up, without saying anything else. He was clearly upset that I contacted him before the deadline of radio silence, but he was my only lead on what had happened to Yvonne. I left the building via the stairs, just because I don't believe in leaving the building the same way I came. When I got to the street, I reached into my pocket to have a smoke. When I looked up, there was a suit across the street staring at me. It wasn't super obvious, but he was clearly staring at me. He wouldn't break his gaze for even a single second to make sure that he was seeing everything I was doing. I lit the cigarette, but he wouldn't break eye contact. I stared back to try and make it seem like his cover was blown, but if he was a cop, he was a pretty shitty one. He wasn't leaving. He just kept staring. Then behind him, another suit came up next to him, and now they were both staring at me. I decided to just leave them to their business and go home. I called Alexei and told him what I found, but I tried to reassure him that the cops probably just picked him up and were going to ask him the usual bullshit questions. They always do. Yvonne wouldn't talk and probably show up in a few days. When I got home, I noticed another suit staring at me from across the street. I entered my building, and another one was standing in the lobby. He wasn't doing anything, not even drawing attention. He was just standing there. It was odd. So odd that I didn't break my gaze from him until my elevator door closed. I started to think maybe the cops knew something we hadn't picked up on. That started to concern me. But they didn't arrest me, so who cared? I certainly didn't need to. I woke up to my phone ringing. I picked it up and saw that I had missed a call from Alexei, and then called him immediately back. Mr. Alexei, you call...
Jonathan, I need you to come to office now. I need everyone here as soon as you can get here.
I sprang from my bed and began to put my clothes on. I put on a shirt, but didn't button it, as I headed out of the door with my gun, wallet, and keys. Sir, what's going on? Is it the cops?
I don't know who it is, my boy. The accounts are completely empty. I woke up, checked them like I always do. All of our money, the Swiss accounts, American, Russian, Ukrainian accounts, all zero. Get back here and come prepared, my boy. We are at war, and we do not know with whom yet.
I got in my car and went as fast as I could to the office. I tried to think what the hell was going on. My first reaction was this was the cops. They were coming for us. They had picked up on something to put us all away, but that didn't make too much sense. Cops freeze accounts. They don't hack and steal all the money. I walked into the office and noticed the receptionist wasn't at the front desk. That didn't make any sense, as she was always the first one there. I entered the passcode to the office and walked in. As I entered, I noticed I stepped in a puddle. I looked down. It was blood. I looked up and pulled my gun from my pants and noticed there was blood everywhere. But there were no bodies, just tons of blood. I panicked and ran out just as the elevator dinged and opened. A crew with plastic coveralls, mops, and cleaning supplies came out. I stood just for a moment. As they saw me, they pulled guns. I aimed and started firing and ran back to the office. I got a few for sure, but couldn't hope to fight off the rest. I ran to the back of the office and grabbed Alexei's private stash of AK-47s. I peeked back around the corner and sprayed the gun until they were all thrown. I walked over to them as I reloaded. I shot the ones that were still moving. I dropped the gun, got on the elevator, and left. As it was going down, I tried to calm my breathing and think what the hell was going on. Just then, I got a call from Lenny.
Jonathan, get out of town!
What are you talking about?
Michael is dead. I sent somebody to his house and now they're not picking up their phone. I hacked Michael's accounts. They're empty. We need to disappear, maybe forever. I hope you plan for something like this happening.
Slow down. What are you talking about? Michael is dead? What have you found?
We ripped off the damn Illuminati!
What?
Or something big enough to pull serious strings. Look, I looked into that freighter we robbed. It was owned by the Chinese, but the container we robbed wasn't owned by the Chinese military. It was owned, but a shadow company that is owned by another shadow, so on and so forth. The diamonds were being sent to Africa to fund some terrorist group. To start a war that would have the powers to invade and take over the oil reserves there.
How do you know all of this?
Because most of my accounts have been drained and the money has all gone to the buyers of diamonds in Africa. From that, I was able to find their communications and figure out the rest.
Lenny hung up after that. I wasn't sure if he had gotten caught, but I had heard all that I needed to. I ran out of the lobby, but I was stopped when I felt a blunt pain shoot into my stomach. I looked up from the ground and saw one of the suits looking down at me. The next thing I knew, a pair of handcuffs and a bag were forced on me, and I was in a car. Driving for a few hours. I passed out at some point. I have no idea how long I was in the car. The bag came off, and I was blinded by headlights and was tied to a chair. A man was standing in front of me, but I couldn't see his face.
Good afternoon, Jonathan. We have been so excited to meet you.
I didn't say anything to him.
You've made quite a lot of trouble for us. We're gonna have to fix that. You owe us a lot, and we know you don't have the diamonds. So your money is gonna have to do.
I noticed the rope was loose. Whoever did the tying did a shit job. I pulled my wrist out, and the other came out easily after that. The suit approached me with a knife and was clearly getting serious about the situation. When he got close, I punched him in the stomach and wrapped my arm around his neck, and I pulled him in a chokehold. He struggled, but he was getting weaker as the oxygen wasn't getting to him. Just as he passed out, I decided I didn't want to have to worry about him again. So with a quick twist of my arms, I snapped his neck. I ran out of the building and realized I was just in the basement of my building. I ran to my apartment and grabbed my spare gun, my extra cash, and fake passport. I called my bank and got in my car. I told them to withdraw everything from the accounts. I walked into the bank and they had my cash, but tried to make me go through some paperwork bullshit. I fired my gun into the ceiling to freak them out and grabbed my money in a briefcase and ran out. I got in my car and noticed a black SUV behind me. I was going to have to run. I needed to get away from this. I had ripped off the cabal of kingmakers of this world. I was never more scared in that moment than I had ever been. But I have to admit, I had never been so high in my life. I couldn't help but grin and keep on driving.
Red Blood, Those Who Walk Behind. Written and directed by Quade Krulik. Production by Trey Falco. Starring Quade Krulik and Trey Falco.